Welcome to the Wing Life Podcast, where we talk about wing foiling and the lifestyles of those who enjoy this great sport.
All right. Hi, everybody. We have Amit Inbal with us. And for those of you who don't know him, he's an ex-pro Israeli windsurfer. And today he's focusing more on coaching clinics for various water sports. And we have him on today to talk to us about different spots that have traveling spots that are maybe off the beaten track a little bit and that have mostly been made possible by winging, that haven't been that interesting but for kite surfing or windsurfing. But now with winging, we've had that opened up.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, first of all. It's a treat to be here. I think, regard to what you were saying, for me, the best example for a destination that opened up for winging and was never an option for windsurfing or kite surfing. For me, this place would be Chicama because I've been riding Chicama for the last decade, the last 10 years, at least twice a year, coaching sub clinics and surfing clinics in Chicama. And I'm coming from a windsurfing background and kite surfing background. And because the bay is surrounded by a really big cliff, it's like, I would say like 30 to 50 meters high. So the wind doesn't blow all the way to the point. And so you cannot really kite or windsurf the wave of Chicama. It's too gusty, it's too protected. And whenever I started winging, I said, fuck, this is it, because we can overtake the holes so easily with the foil and the wing. And from then on, it's history. I've been there once just to try it out with one of my camps and like a surf camp. And just for myself. And after the first session, I just realized, this is it. This place was never an option for any wind sport. It's very famous for surfing and wave riding. And from now on, this whole thing is going to change. This place is just too perfect for wave riding with the wing, because of the direction of the wind. The wave angle is just too perfect. And even though it's so gusty, it's so gusty, it can be from 0 to 25 knots, small puffs of winds all over the bay. And if you're going in the right time, when the direction of the wind is more southeasterly, then you can really cover most of the bay. And this would never an option with any wind sport. And just now with winging, it's an option. And I think for myself, it's probably the best example how you can transfer place and from not an option to be a paradise.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Everyone at home that doesn't know where Chicama is, close to the well-known Pacasmayo. It's kind of similar setup, but a bit of a smaller wave and more clean and longer than Pacasmayo, to my understanding.
Well, yeah, Chicama, it's like an hour drive from Pacasmayo. I think the wave of Pacasmayo is a bit more steep, especially in low tide. The main difference between Pacasmayo and Chicama is that Pacasmayo, the landscape, it's relative kind of flat. So when the wind come across, it's still a bit gusty, but it's not as gusty as Chicama. So windsurfing, surfing can, they can go slowly upwind towards the peak, and then once they're on the wave, they rip. I would say that the wind in Pacasmayo, it's way lighter than the wind in Chicama. The wind in Chicama is way stronger, but it's just crazy gusty. I think lengthwise, Chicama is probably way longer than Pacasmayo, but both setups are perfect. It's like, but for me, I brought Chicama up because it was never an option, as I said before, as a wind sport location. And Pacasmayo was always famous as a wind sport location. And now Chicama joined the gang, you know, and for me to be there to discover that was like a big thing. And
Oh yeah, that would be unbelievable.
yeah, I mean, I've been riding the wave of Chicama using a boat assistance because the wave is so long. So when I was surfing or supping, you know, it's like paddling like 40 minutes back to the point. And with the boat, you just go boom, 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 boom. And now with the wing, it's even way more efficient because of the direction of the wind. It's like one tack to the point, and within 2 3 minutes, you're back on the point, getting another another long ride. So it's kind of crazy.
So no boat needed anymore, I guess is what you're saying.
Well, no, you definitely need the boat because the wind is kind of side offshore. So I'm using the boats for safety in the
Okay.
afternoon. That's when the wind is the wind is a thermal wind. So in the morning it's very light. That's when we use the boats for towing in. We're doing like 4 hour session towing in. Every 3 riders have their own boat, so it's kind of high end, kind of you get tons of waves, and that's when we do the prone towing in.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and then when the wind picks up, we're using the boats first for safety because the wind is kind of it's side off all the way to offshore wind. So and it's a long way to go if you get into drama. So it's
Okay.
very important to have the boats for safety. And the other thing is when the size is it's getting big, even in Chicama, although the wave is very mellow and makeable, still to go with the wing and with the foil and everything through the beach break can be a bit of a mission for especially people which are not very familiar with riding wave, breaking waves.
Okay.
So we're using the boats, taking the equipment and the riders through the beach break and do the rigging of the wings in the flat water after the break. So everything is calm and everything is very sterilized as far as safety. And then when the session is finished, deflate the wings on the boats and the boats take you back to the beach. So this you can really ride the wave in a very safe way and enjoy the energy of the wave without being in any stress. And at the same time, if you want to rip it and go very tight to the pocket, obviously you can. But I
Mm-hmm.
always recommend to the people that come to the camps, start slow and just take it from there, and the progress will come day by day.
I was just saying, it sounds like a really good setup. It kind of takes away the intimidating and challenging parts of getting into waves and makes it accessible and easy. And having a long wave like that is just so easy to see the wave, so easy to stay in the energy of the wave. It's just perfect.
Yeah, I think if somebody would have to plan it and to draw it and to make it like for me it's the most perfect wave pool, natural, God made. It's really perfect. It's always with the high period waves, so there's I would say from 15 to 25 seconds between each wave. So the waves are very clean. Even though if you got caught inside, there's a lot of time for recovering. But still at the same time, I get to see people coming to Chicama without using the facilities like boats and stuff. And if it gets into a big size, you can destroy all the equipment and there's nothing there as far as rentals and stuff. I mean, you got to bring everything down there. There's nothing there. So
Okay.
just keep in mind.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. So that's a really cool example of what was made possible. And I know on our end where Luke and I ride back home on the Great Lakes, there's another setup we used to windsurf a lot, and it'd be really pretty good or quite good actually, about 5 times a year. And then
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the time, you'd always be hoping for those 5 times a year, and then or waiting for it. But with the wing, it's just opened up, the other 50 times a year that it's windy there, but it's just not every star lines up. And all of a sudden, you're just having this insane setup where you can ride super long waves. Definitely not Chicama or Pacasmayo long, but really, really long waves and well organized, not too much power. So it's really great on a foil. And you can go back upwind in 2 seconds because you have a wing. So, it's definitely opened up things that before, even if they were an option, they might have been just mediocre a lot of the time, and all of a sudden they're world class. So yeah, totally. You were talking to us as well about in Morocco, a spot that you found was now a lot more interesting because of the wing.
Yeah, there's in Morocco there are a few places. Obviously, if we go down south, down to Dakhla, which is very famous for kite surfing, windsurfing. So you got the lagoons, which is the flat water, and then you got uh, the open ocean, which they built this kind of resort that kind of got blocked for the wind for kite surfing or windsurfing, and now with the winging kind of open up. But for me personally, the place that kind of rocked for myself was it's a place called Mir Left. It's down south than Agadir, very unknown place, and with the winging now at the port, it's just amazing conditions, and you got this old port down there that kind of blocked the wind, and again with the wing, with the gusty the wind that you have there is just very makeable. And before that, with kite surfing or windsurfing was just another option. So for me, that's another example of getting a place that was not rideable and becomes it becomes magic. Um, yeah, those for me, those two places are very very unique. But at the bottom end, I think the setup that we've got in Chicama is just unbeatable. It's just too perfect. I mean, for me, uh, the idea of riding a wave, that's the whole thing. It doesn't matter really what I'm riding. And to get the experience of riding 4 to 5 minutes ride, I can't find it anywhere else in the world. And Chicama just brings the whole package and the sensation of riding the wave. First, the distance, the time, and also the safety. I mean, I like to charge. I definitely like to charge, but also like to know that I can play in a nice playground, but very safe playground. For me, it makes sense. And I mean, I like to push myself very much, but at the same time, I like to play it safe. And for me, this combination Chicama provided at the highest level.
Yeah, I can totally. Well, I think a big thing for me about water sports is that you can really, depending on the setup, you can really push yourself. You can really kind of go as quite far out of your comfort zone and stay in a very relatively safe environment, as opposed to, say, skiing or mountain biking or skateboarding, all these other sports where you're on hard ground. And when you're up 20 feet in the air and you crash, it's going to hurt a lot.
Yeah. I always tell my friends that bring everything. I'd love to try anything up, but it has to be water. It has to be on water. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, for me, being a beginner and learn something new, that's what it's all about. I like having the challenge of learning something from scratch. I mean, I had my windsurfing career and brought this to perfection, and then dive all the way into kite surfing and learn the whole thing again, and then foiling, and then I really love the learning process. I really love, waking up in the morning and yeah, trying to conquer something new and yeah, just to push it, but staying safe at the same time. As it goes together. It doesn't need to be learning something new and doing it in a dangerous way. Yeah, for my age, I think that's how you see it now.
I mean, I would love to hear a bit about how you got into windsurfing and into your water sports. If we can get the folks at home to get to know you a little bit better. When did your journey into all these sports start?
Well, I was born and raised in a small village on the coast of Israel. I got into surfing when I was 7 years old. We had a small house right on the beach. Then my brother got into windsurfing, and we went into the competitive side of it very quick. And then my dad, which was very dominating kind of dad, he kind of pushed me to get into windsurfing so I can be my brother's training partner.
Okay.
That's how it started. I must say I hated it in the beginning. Too much equipment, it's the other way from surfing that you just grab your board and leash and just go. And here you got all the mast and booms and sails and blah. So yeah, I got into that to be my brother's training partner, and I think it's been like that for like 2 years. That on the weekend, my brother would go for competitions, and that was my free time to surf
Okay.
until the family said, okay, everybody's going to the competition, so might as well come over and, do it. Um, and I wasn't really up to it. And I think the first event that I went, something really kind of opened up in my personality. The competitive side of me just burst and just, I kind of loved the energy of competing. And I think my life just switched at that day. I was like 12 when that happened. And then since then, until I was like 30 years old, that was my whole life. When I was 12, I decided I want to be a world champion, and I want to do the Olympic Games. And I just followed my dreams until I kind of reached nearly all of them. I did 3 campaigns for the Olympics. I competed in 2 Olympic Games in Barcelona and Sydney. Retired from Olympic competitions and being an active athlete 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, and ever since then, got hooked into kitesurfing, then supping, foiling, winging. And when I get into something, I really like to do it like all in and really to put time in it and to master it the best way I can until the next thing comes along and just to do the whole thing again. And 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 working with people, uh, personally, it's a very rewarding for myself. Um, Taking people from one level and within relative a short time make a big significant change in their technique so they can jump in their level. So for me personally, it's um, very inspiring to see how I can change people's life in a way. So
Hmm.
I feel very blessed and rewarded, and doing what I like, and yeah, I feel blessed. Definitely feel blessed.
Nice. Yeah, I think I can definitely relate. We both have coached wind sports at different times and different levels, and it's a very rewarding experience to get people that are already have maybe a little bit of experience, but they're not doing what they want to be doing yet, and then just giving them the little bit of a push that they need, or the little bit of a modification and technique that they need, or maybe even showing them how to set up their gear a little differently. And all of a sudden, you go from not being able to turn to making all your turns, and you're like, whoa, okay, that was cool.
Well, definitely. I mean, you mentioned gear, so yeah, I got my gear approach is very. I don't know if it's old school or very different. I'm a very unequipment kind of guy. Obviously, I'm very curious about the new things and what's changing, but at the same time, I'm looking at the chase of people chasing the newest gear and the fastest and the high aspect and low aspect and me aspect. And instead of spending more time in the water on the same set that you've got, learn it. The more you use it, the better foiler you get. And just changing and changing and changing and changing and changing all the time, chasing this endless chase of and I mean, I've got a shop back home. It My philosophy is not very hard selling, but at the same time, uh, this is the way I see things, and for me, yeah, if you buy in a certain equipment, you want to use it for a certain time and to learn it, and not to replace it all the time with something else. It's a not very commercial way, but it's for me the true way. I can see it for myself. If I've been, for example, when I started foiling, I'm still a go foil kind of guy, and I was using the Kai for such a long time, and then the Iowa. I was using the Iowa for so long, even though new things came along. And I know this is kind of a older man or people kind of toy. Foiling, it's a toy after all, and people like their toys and like buying and getting and more toys, but it doesn't make you a better foiler or surfer. The other way around. I mean, I see people coming to the beach with too much gear and they don't really know what to put on, and they always have this kind of feeling that if I would put my 4.5 on, that was perfect for the 4.5, and I was on my 5. You always have this feeling that could have been better. Um, so from one way, I can relate to this hobby that
Hmm.
people have, and part of the hobby is being curious and to be involved with the industry that you're taking part of, especially when it's a fast growing as it is as wing foiling at the moment. But if you see, it's kind of the same wave as we had with wing surfing and kite surfing and supping and like any other trend. Um, and I think if people will pay more attention, spending more time in the water, uh, instead of getting new stuff all the time, there would be a better surf for sure.
It's not the first time I've heard that. I mean, I talked to some guys actually. I think it was maybe at Nitnat Lake on Vancouver Island on the west coast of Canada. And
Mhm.
I was out there practicing in very light winds with almost a sinker, just like a slight floater, just practicing my jibes just on with my board on the water, just turning around. And I came back to shore and they were saying, well, like, you know what, my board is too small or this is not working or I don't have enough. And I said, well, like I was just out there. I said, yeah, but there wasn't enough wind. I said, well, actually there was enough wind. It just depends on how you want to look at the sport. And I do like the way you're thinking about it and breaking that down because there's maybe 10 different aspects of that sport. There's light wind. What happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? So it's nice to put yourself into that different mindset and then to try to master all the different steps of the sport so that you can become an overall better wing foiler. Because sometimes if you're in the ocean and the wind shuts off, it's nice to know that you can come in 8 knots and you'll be fine. But if
Oh
you
yeah,
never take the time to practice that, then when you're getting into like a situation where the wind is super light and you're riding waves, well, then you're not ready for that because you're just going to fall over.
exactly.
So that aspect of things, I enjoy. And I've been riding the same foil for the last 3 years. And I got on an Armstrong 1550 V1 mid aspect kind of, and I love it. It's definitely a different mindset, and it kind of would you say that, Amit, that kind of ties into the passion of the sport or maybe trying to become the best athlete you can be? Is there it it was that mindset maybe something that came from your Olympic campaigns, or where, how did you develop that? Because there are certain people with that mindset, but there's not a lot of people are chasing that forever turning wheel of the marketing, and it's the gear that's going to help me get better.
Well, maybe it's because of my background. I'm coming from like a one design class kind of thing. So in the days that I was competing, so there was like one size of sail, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what the wind is, if it's light wind or strong wind. So it's like this is it, and you got to manage that. And I think maybe this kind of educate me to push myself with the same equipment, no matter what the conditions are. Obviously, this is the extreme. It's not the way
Mm-hmm.
it should be. But
Yes, for sure.
at the same time, I'm looking at myself today, and if I look at the quiver that I'm using, it will be mostly one size of wing, inflatable wing, normally like a 5. I'll have one mast and two front wing and one tail, and that's about it. And this will cover the whole thing: light wind, winging, prone, supping, whatever. Um, and it took me time to dial which sizes that I'm going to use. But once I
Mm-hmm.
reach that, that's it. I don't need anything else. Um, and and I think I'm a little bit fed up with the chase after the equipment, and I want to have more reliability about what I can do as a person, and as a foiler or as a surfer, and not what the equipment can do for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not chasing anyone anymore. I'm not competing with anyone anymore. Um, and I want to have this relationship with my equipment that it takes time to build. It's like a relationship, and if you have too much equipment and you're not riding it, you cannot have this relationship. That's the way I see it. Very romantic
I like that.
aspect.
I like the way you were looking at that, because it is true. And it maybe for a lot of people at home as well who are worried about how much gear they need. You don't need as much as you think to get started. And even with the gear that you have, yes, there is some gear that's going to be harder to ride. That makes sense. But if you get yourself a good setup, that setup could actually last you for longer than you think.
Oh yeah, for sure. And obviously, my philosophy is not a very good marketing philosophy. It doesn't make sense for people who have shops or import stuff, because you sell less, that's for sure. But that's the way I do it, and that's the way I believe in it.
Okay.
That's that.
That I think Luke alluded to something that's very important, in that, all three of us are riding gear that we've been riding for a while, but it's actually quite good gear that we're on. And a lot of the gear that was made 2 or 3 years ago by a number of companies just kind of getting into the wing game was not very good. And in some cases, you could be riding something that, you could have an easier time riding something that's not necessarily more recent, but just easier gear to ride. Really, really good example of that is the first foils that were made for freeride windsurfing by a number of companies that weren't foiling companies. They were just, windsurfing brands. And then all of a sudden this foiling boom comes in and they had to put something out on the market. So they did. And, it kind of worked, but it was really challenging to ride. And if you're somebody who kind of looked for as affordable of an option as possible to get into the sport early on, and you got one of those foils, then changing your gear in that situation could actually help you. But I do, in general, agree with Amit 100% that once you have a reasonably good foil, you don't need to be changing the wing twice a year every time a new aspect ratio comes out or a new outline comes out or anything like that. That's probably detrimental to you.
Well, maybe to our future sponsors, this is detrimental too.
I got people coming to the camps that I'm running. For example, in Chitama, people that they've been waterman for many years, and experienced winger, doing it for like 2 years, 2.5 years. And they come with like tons of equipment, like
Mm.
seriously. And we're always ending up using one or two sizes. And it's always when we start the conversation, I mean, they don't know me, and whenever they want to register to the camp, we start talking on the phone, and we always have this gear conversation. What are you riding? What are you bringing? What should I bring? And so on. And uh, when I can see when the person in front of me is a gear freak, uh, and I get this list of like endless front wing, tail wing, and at the end, like, what should I bring? I say, like, just bring it all, just bring it all. And then, I mean, at the end of the time, we're using the one or two sizes, and I think those people, when they finish the camp with me, they come up with a better understanding about equipment, and they're getting less and less equipment. That's for sure.
I think one aspect of that is it's very hard to know what to buy at the start because all the stores, obviously, their aim is to hopefully sell you something. So you have so many different salesmen selling stuff, and that's when actually Benoit, who's the designer and owner of On Kiteboarding, came and talked to Tom and I, and he was like, thanks guys for kind of starting this podcast because you're bringing real world experience into the market so that people can understand. It's like, hey, like I'm riding Armstrong 1550 and I like it. It does very well for this range and conditions. And we're taking the marketing aspect out of it because we're just guys that love the sport and want to give back. And so for that, I can see it. It's very confusing for the everyday consumer because if you log on to the internet and search, like you could
You get
get
lost. You get
$10,000 or 20 grand worth of stuff.
Yeah, you get lost. You definitely get
Yeah.
lost now.
Yeah.
You definitely get lost, and people are buying way over too much equipment for the first year because they get lost. Like two, three boards in 1 year, two, three foils in 1 year, two, three wings in 1 year. This is like crazy. This is like crazy. There's no need for all that.
So Amit,
Honestly.
so you went through your whole Olympic career and you as a waterman, and then why did you decide, or was it just a natural progression to start teaching and getting into camps?
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning, I was working as the national coach back here in Israel, and I got tired of working with the federation and all the politics involved, and I felt there's so much knowledge out there from with me, and so I started working with private people, and slowly, it got bigger and bigger. I spent like 2 years living in Sinai. We had like a kite surfing center, my wife and I, and then I'm still kind of addicted to moving around and traveling the world. Like I said, I was traveling since I was 12. I was moving like 8 months a year, chasing the competition and training camps when I was competing. And when I settled in after I quit from racing, I was kind of trying to see how I can keep on moving, and um, tried came up with combining um, coaching people and moving together into
Mm-hmm.
this um, really fun environment of work, doing like 10 to 12 camps a year in different locations worldwide. And so I'm traveling a lot. And for me, that's something which is very, very important to keep moving and exploring this planet, and at the same time working with people and trying to give as much as I can from my knowledge as a waterman, and yeah, trying to live this life the happiest I can and doing what I love. That's what it's all about, I think.
I think if you want to get a bit esoteric or a little bit deeper, like one of the biggest things we can do here is that transference of joy from one human being to the other. And a lot of masters look at that as a very deep symbolic gesture of achieving a level on earth here that's seen to extend. And I think that's exactly what you are doing. And it's very cool that you've been able to do that.
No, thank you for putting it that's very, yeah, that's it's very true. I mean, as I said before, I feel I'm very blessed, like knowing what I want to do since a young age, and just walking through this path all those years, and still being passionate about what I do after so many years in the
Mm-hmm.
ocean. Still have the stoked, and I mean, even today I had such a great session. I mean, we had this swell, a very clean swell here in Israel. I'm in Israel at the moment, and it's a winter swell, and I was so stoked. It's like I just like the first wave of my life, you know. And for me, this is like that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Simple, very simple.
In the sport of winging right now, there's a lot of people that are starting to look for some cool destinations to go to, and they're also looking to learn. So first of all, how would people maybe get in touch with you to find out about their camps, and all that kind of thing?
I'm trying to explore every year a new destination for my camps. At the moment, the locations that we go through are Peru, Maldives, Senegal, Morocco, um, obviously Peru, Panama, um, and you can reach me by the website. It calls expressyoursurf.com. All the information is down there at the website, expressyoursurf.com. Um, the camps are running from April, from September till April.
Okay.
You can find on the website which month exactly which camps are run and where. I think I'm not very objective, but seriously, from all the camps that I'm running at the moment for winging, uh, for people who are looking to ride the energy of the wave and not the energy of the wind, I think Chicama is probably the best option possible. And for Chicama, there's kind of for the registration, people need to send like a video of themselves winging, because there's kind of a minimum level to enter the camp. Like obviously you need to go upwind, jibing, tacking both ways. Uh, Anything less than that, as far as level, I think Chicama is probably not the best place for you. Um, the rest of the camps, even earlier level, like a beginner level, can be also an option. But for Chicama, there's like a specific level needed to enter the camp.
Okay. So maybe what we can do is walk through some people who haven't been to your website yet. So they would go there, they would book their trip with you, and you said it starts with a phone call. System starts.
Yeah, yeah. It starts with
Okay.
an email, and then once we go through the email and all the information is there, for me it's very very important to talk on a personal level. Um, and then once we've done the talk, it's very important for me to see the level of the person that is attending the camp. And nevertheless, it's very important to know that in the camps, it's always no more than 9 riders. So it's a very limited, small number of people entering the camps. Um, and
Okay.
for me, it's very important, obviously, to see that there's a connection between me and the person which is coming.
Hmm.
So talks are very important, and
Hmm.
because it's very intimate, private kind of thing. It's not like a big camp that you got like 30 people and whoever can join in. It's very intimate kind of thing, and for me, it's important to have the connection with the person before we even meet. And for example, I got 2 camps coming up now in March, and I love the mixture of the people. It's like people coming from New Zealand, Puerto Rico, Switzerland, Hawaii, San Francisco, Israel. So I'm very excited about that. That was kind of a
Oh,
dream for
wow.
me to work. Yeah, that was. I was working mostly with Israeli people, and slowly, it's getting more and more international. We had two camps with people coming from the States. That was a big breakthrough for me, and this camp is already, yeah, we got I think 6 different nations in March. So I'm very stoked about that. For me, on a personal level, that's like a dream come true.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty exciting. And are people responsible for their own accommodations, or is that something that you provide also? Or
I'm provide the whole package. It's the package is everything besides the airline ticket. Once you land, if you take Chicago, for example, once you land in Trujillo, which is the final destination, everything has been taken care of from airport shuttle, accommodation, obviously the coaching, video analyst, storage, boat use. I mean, in Chicamo, we're using up to 8 hours a day boat rides. I mean, it's an option. I mean, people
hmm.
physically cannot do that, but it's an option. It's an option.
Okay. So you make it as easy as possible for everybody to kind of enjoy these spots. And that's kind of where I wanted to find out, because depending on where you live, if you only have a week, it's really nice to be able to go somewhere, have everything organized, be with somebody that has the experience like you have, so that you can go and enjoy yourself and then come back home and that kind of thing. So it's good to hear all those aspects of your trips, that they are full inclusive in that sense.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I mean, people who join me, they know that everything is being taken care of, and they just come to chill and to enjoy themselves. They don't need to hustle about where's the car is coming from and who's the boat driver and is there gas in the boat, or nothing is. There's no hassle. They just enjoy themselves.
Okay. No, that's good to hear.
People bring their own gear. Most of the places that we go to, they're very remote, and there's nothing to rent or to repair. So that's all need to be taken in consideration as far as bringing spare parts and stuff like that.
Okay. And making sure to check with your airline. I know there's some airlines that are friendlier with gear than others. And actually, this is kind of a cool. What are people packing? Are they bringing fiberglass boards? Like, are they bringing hard boards? Are they just bringing blow ups? Or
No, didn't have any inflatable stuff yet. No, everybody's bringing hardboards.
okay,
Traveling, I must say, from my experience, not too bad at all. I think the airlines are actually getting better.
okay,
Um, I think now most of the airlines are allowing board bags as instead of a suitcase, and even without paying. Like, I mean, I'm working with KLM Air France. They're great. I mean, they're allowing to send up to 22 kilos with no charge. So
okay,
that,
okay.
yeah, some airlines
And
are even good.
has there been a board bag of choice that you like the best to pack all your winging stuff in? This is something we haven't actually talked about on the podcast yet.
Well, after years of packing surfing equipment, my philosophy about packing uh, have switched from being very on it, like, to be very half a day, take you to pack all the stuff. And my philosophy now is just chuck everything in the bag and just zipper it up. Uh, seriously, it's just
Okay.
yeah, seriously. And obviously now traveling to Chicama, I just take this big windsurf board bag, and I just put like inside there's like a sub board, prom board, wing board, two foils, one wing, two wings actually, two one X. Everything is it's like 75 kilos bag, and it's huge bag, and it just goes, and everything is fine.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Yeah.
All right, folks at home, you don't need to worry about a thing, is what we're getting, which is pretty cool.
No, I was just saying, I don't know if I've ascended to that level of zen in my packing yet, but
Well, the world champion, you know, we got to give him something.
No, I mean, I've done so much effort, you know, packing. It's very, very neat, and everything got so smashed. And I tried all variety of options of packing through the years, and I just came to understanding it doesn't really matter. So I just zip it up and send it, and hopefully hope for the best.
Fair enough. I like that.
one thing that
Yeah.
is mentioning is that if you're flying with wing surfing gear, you should say that you're flying with kite surfing gear. With a lot of companies, kite surfing gear is free, and a lot of companies don't know what winging is yet, and you don't want to be paying for windsurfing gear because it's often more expensive than kite surfing gear. So if anybody asks you what's in the bag, you don't say a dead body, you don't say windsurfing gear, you say kite surfing gear. Better.
That's fair. And then insurance is another thing that you could always look into if you're riding with a lot of stuff. 'Cause I think Tom, when we flew to Punta San Carlos there, we wanted to make sure our stuff was safe for sure, but that would be another conversation unto itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Amit, I want to say it was a pleasure to meet you. It was great to find out more about you. And actually, I would be stoked to go to one of these camps in Peru. That would be unbelievable.
Yeah. Come over, guys. We'll have to have you come in with us. And
That'd be
and
fun.
thanks for having me over. And yeah, it's been a blast.
Awesome. All right. Well, hope you enjoy your day, and we'll talk soon.
All right, guys. Aloha. Bye bye.
All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us. Thanks for joining Tom and I on this episode. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.